decreasing net zero emissions will eventually have to be adopted so that Canada can achieve its sustainable development goals. And that means that there's a workforce of hundreds and thousands of people that are currently working in energy efficiency and that we will need by 2030 to really get this off the ground.
This is what we do. We make all these buildings cool and green and awesome, right? My name is Kirk Johnson, president of Eco Efficiency. My particular piece of heaven is market transformation. It's the jobs that matter. There's no point in changing the world if people can't get paid decent dollars to be a part of that. We all have to be included in this climate kind of transition, right? And so employment and workforce development is where I do a lot of focus right now.
My name is Fatima Crerar. I am VP of Partnerships and Strategy at the Atmospheric Fund and also the chair of the Board of Environmental Defence Canada. I come home from school one day and I tell my dad about climatology. I found it. I found what I want to work on. I want to work on climatology. And he looked at me and I still remember it and he said, lovingly, "So you're going to be a weather girl?" It's funny now, and he wasn't being derogatory. The truth was, he was like, "What's the work? Like, I hear that you're excited about this topic, but what's the work?" I didn't know. Today, my work is around partnerships. It's around operations, around helping our teams get ideas off paper and into the world.
My name is Abiran Raveenthiran. I am the co-founder of VXP Solutions. What we do is we bridge the gap between lighting controls and how it actually gets to market. On the engineering side, we work with them to actually implement these complex lighting control solutions. With VXV Solutions, you'll see us in Scotiabank Arena, Toronto Police Services Net Zero First Building, as well as on the business side, I work with many various interesting offshore manufacturers.
My name is Fellipe Falluh, and I'm a Brazilian living in Montreal, Quebec. I founded my company Retrofit Construction at age 24. And I come from a family of builders in Brazil, third generation actually. And they really inspired me to go through this entrepreneurial path. I'm a civil and environmental engineer from McGill University, and I really dedicated my life to catalyzing, consulting, and executing retrofits in the built environment. My journey started when I had a duplex that I retrofitted and is on its way to becoming the first net zero ready certified building in Quebec.
Hello everyone, I'm Yash. My journey with sustainability actually began in this very building. I did my master's in building science and then followed that up with PhD in building science, which is currently happening. My whole perspective on sustainability lands on 3 different pillars, which all serve the huge umbrella of clean tech. So the first pillar that I always like to talk about is research. Then I move over to education, which is outrightly just growing. Last pillar that I will talk about, and that is construction and consulting, which is where I've lived and breathed for the last 3 years almost right now.
My name is Gonell. I am the principal of Gonell Homes here in Toronto, the GTA area. I grew up constantly getting evicted out of homes, and I made it my life mission to correct that wrong. Through my career, I first became a U.S. Marine stateside, served in combat, a couple of tours, became a police officer, retired, met the love of my life, moved to Canada, and then it's, okay, well, what are you doing? Jane and Finch area was my home. I was volunteering with at-risk youths that were prone to join gangs. So I said, wait a minute, why am I putting all these young adults into trade programs when I know nothing myself? So I put myself through that program. I went door to door to construction companies, asking who wanted to hire me. And I started my journey from there. In my course, I became a home builder eventually, after starting literally from the bottom. And this poor kid from the Bronx ended up working in $1 million homes.
My name is Ruvi Mugara. I am originally from the country of Zimbabwe. This organization that I work for now, Think Well Shift, they hired a girl with 0 skills in energy efficiency based on the fact that I could talk, and they needed someone who can talk and kind of break down that knowledge for youth. So I started off talking to kids in schools from grade primary all the way to grade 12 and university about energy efficiency. And then I kind of worked my way up, and now I'm the director of projects at Think Well Shift, where I now handle sort of like the management of the different teams and breaking down that technical jargon that all these guys here are going to be talking about, all those acronyms, so that the regular person can understand it.
My name is Nikki Muswaggon. I am a young and Cree Indigenous woman. I am from Manitoba, northern Manitoba, but I'm currently residing in Winnipeg. I work as a level 34 electrician. Right now I'm currently doing a project management job and I do electrical as part-time.
My name is Shannon Giebelhaus. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. Born and raised. I grew up in the oil and gas household. My dad was an engineer in the oil and gas field. So my very beginning jobs were following Dad around with a clipboard and doing some checks with him through the pressure vessels. I did sustainable farming for a few years and gained a whole other appreciation for sustainability and what that means from a very, very literally grassroots level. Went into solar and decided that wasn't quite my vibe either, but an incredible career there. An elder in my life suggested I check out the energy advising role because NRCan had just announced a huge amount of funding going into energy advisor training about 3 or 4 years ago. Started studying that and I thought, wow, this is literally going into people's homes. This is making an impact on the very basic scale, same as farming. People have to eat, people have to live in their houses. So I find myself at the Clean Energy Improvement Program with Alberta municipalities in Alberta. And this is a program that encourages folks to do energy retrofits on their home.
So my name is Afaf Azzouz. I'm a senior manager at Deloitte, Sustainability and Climate team. I live in Montreal. I'm a Canadian of Egyptian origin, so I've lived a huge chunk of my life in Egypt, actually. At Deloitte, I'm helping a lot of companies on a strategic level with their net zero implementation plans and basically anything to do with energy efficiency and decarbonization of their portfolio of assets. I've had the pleasure of designing buildings in the hottest climates and deserts of Egypt up until the coldest climates in northern Manitoba. I'm quite passionate about converting any non-believer in energy efficiency into the believers.
My outlet is to go and reach out to the community. Go and teach whoever I can, whether it's a mentee, whether it's to volunteer in a program, whether it's to teach at a university, so that I can plant that seed for the future generations.
Right now, it's the time to move into the market, in my opinion, as a student, to actually take the risk and learn as much as possible and be one of a strong pillars that the future generations can build upon.
Manitoba is still learning about how to be more energy efficient. Just because most of our power is like hydroelectric dams, and most First Nations. I work with First Nations communities a lot, and like right now we're all kind of slowly learning about solar power farms. So that's kind of it right now for Indigenous communities, and there's a handful of Indigenous communities that are already taking those steps, and they already have some solar farms installed. And in my community, that's what we're kind of like leading towards right now. So that's my opportunity to go home and install that with the help of people in my community, where I can help teach them how to install that as well.
I fit into two bubbles. I can relate to the newcomers. I understand what it's like when you ask the question about immigrants and work permits and visas. I was that person. It is a struggle to infiltrate the workforce as an immigrant. I work with fishermen. I work with miners in Nova Scotia, very small communities, rural communities. And so trying to really instill just the effects of energy efficiency in these communities is my passion, and getting them to understand that it's just something that can be a part of their everyday lives.
Come from an immigrant family that was displaced from a country that was hit by civil war and genocide. What I realized was one of the things along this drive was building many things, was actually making this beautiful country home. And if I can actually work to make it sustainable and green for my fellow immigrants and people who have also come here, then why not?
We shape our buildings and thereafter they shape us. So if we treat our buildings that we live and work in the right way, it will have a direct repercussion on society.
What I've learned is that there is not one silver bullet. We are all super passionate about one thing. And the thing that I want to leave you with is embrace the diversity of opportunities here.
I always think about it as a 3 Ps: people, planet, profit. And as long as those things are in order, and yes, they can all coincide. And I hope that our stories here can show you.
I feel like I've done my contribution to this world when we as specialists are no longer being labeled as specialists, and like everything becomes inherently energy efficient.
I look forward to the time when they're coming to us saying like, hey, I know about the heat pump and I know about the solar. I have a couple other things I want to get done. I want to access your financing. How do I do it? Like, I look forward to those conversations where the homeowner is so engaged and so aware of what's going on that they kind of already know what kind of journey they are expecting.
I hope one of the things you've taken away is that that work spans sectors. It spans fields and it spans skill sets. You could be in business, you could be in policy, you could be in advertising, but you can apply this priority to your work. Live in the way you want the world to work, right? Work in the way you want the world to work. Like, be the spark in the room. Bring this up in those conversations and in those meetings, because I can guarantee there will be someone who nods when you bring it up.